What's up, everybody? This is Frequency Fodder, and I've prepared this video exclusively for the Noise Engineering blog. What we have here is a rhythm patch, and the thing I get the most questions about is how my bottom row here is patched and fits together to create the beats that it creates. And I guess what I'll do to begin with here is just play the beat for a while so you can listen and then talk about it for a minute. All right, so let's talk about that for a minute. Off screen here, you can't see, is the master clock, which is a make noise Richter wobble bug, traveling at a pretty fast speed. That clock is going in right here to the IntelliGel microstep, dividing the clock by 6. And that's important. I always use 24 pulse per quarter note clock. The reason being is because that yields the largest possible number of rhythmic variations. So you can get triplets, quarter note triplets, sixteenths, whatever you need with 24 pulse per quarter note. So then the IntelliGel microstep has 2 sets of gate sequences going out of it. One of them is the straight shuffled clock right here. That is going into the Bastel Instruments mult right here. That mult serves to basically just distribute that shuffled clock everywhere that I need it to go, and it's going a lot of places. The other side, right here, of the IntelliGel microstep is these red switches. And I can turn those on and off at will. But where those are going to is the A input of the popcorn sequencer. So then I have the Varigate 8 here, which I just got, and I love it. Prior to that, I was using a pair of Erica Synths Pico triggers, which worked phenomenally well, responded to the swing clock and everything, but they didn't have quite as much memory as I wanted to utilize. And in this case, I have the Varigate 8 running in song mode, so it's playing one pattern 3 times, followed by a different pattern to create a longer phrase. I still love Erica Synths Pico, and I have a VCF1 here that you heard cut down the filter. So then the things that make all of this complexity possible are really the noise engineering timing control modules, which is why I'm making this video for the Noise Engineering blog. So the way I use the Varigate is similar to the way I use the 2 Pico triggers. One of the sides of the one Pico trigger used to be for beats, grooves, and the other one was for fills. So the Varigate, I use the first 4 triggers for the beat and the second 4 triggers for the fills. And I'm not using the CVs in this. So those go into either side of the Confundo Funkatus for noise engineering, which I use to switch back and forth between a beat and a fill. So when the crossfader is to the right, it's a fill, and when it's to the left, it's a beat, and I've got these handy little mute switches here. The way I organize it is that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are kick, snare, hat, and percussion-esque sounds. In turn, the outputs, 4 outputs from the Confunda Funcatus are going into the Integra Funcatus, so that I have some probability in addition to what the variegate provides. I do use the variegate's probability function, and I also use the variegate's repeat function, but I have not found that to be anything close to mutually exclusive from what the noise engineering timing control modules offer me. So the Integra Funcatus, the way I use that is that I have the first one, which is the kick drum, with the probability just to the left, that goes to reset the popcorn sequencer. And the second one is not in use right now, which was a snare drum. Normally that goes to generate a chord on the offbeats, is the way I like to use that. The third one is going into branches from Mutable Instruments here. And the right side of branches will trigger a burst from the Variatic Irruption by Noise Engineering. The left side will also trigger a burst. So the left side burst is snare, and the right side burst is hi-hat. And the probability that a burst will occur is right here under the Integra Funcatus knob 3. Knob 4 is those short little vocal hits, which in this case are coming out of the Bastel Instruments Grandpa. Those short little vocal hits, the probability is right here on 4. And I don't use the probability in the variegate for that. I do use it in the kick and snare. So that's what the top of branches is doing. The bottom of branches is taking the output of the 4th trigger out of the Integra Funcatus. That's what it's receiving. And then it splits it, and there's basically a 50-50 chance that one or the other of the 2 sounds in the Bastel Instruments Grandpa are going to come out. And then the third one, as I mentioned, is the probability that a burst will be triggered by the Variatic Irruption. Then I have the IntelliGel Aura here, which combines the gates for the regular hi-hats and the regular snare, which are coming through all this stuff from the variegate, but it needs to combine those with the burst outputs before it gets to these 2 Tip-Top Audio 1s, which are the kick and the snare. The kicks that I put in the Tip-Top Audio 1 are from the folks over at Cymatics, and the snares that I have in the second Tip-Top Audio 1 are from the folks over at Meth Lab Agency. Then I have my hi-hats and my cymbals in this first Pico drums from Erica Synths. Those little vocal hits and percussions are coming out of the Bastel Grandpa. And then I have another Pico drums, which provides additional percussion, which is triggered by the Noise Engineering Variatic Sequent and Variatic Multium, which are synced. And then I also have the reset running. And way up here is the Horologic Solum from Noise Engineering as well, and I find that to be a flawless clock divider. Occasionally I use it as a master clock, but as a clock divider, if it's got this pause switch on it, which is just absolutely brilliant, because I use shuffled gates in everything that I do. Therefore, when the shuffle is in the wrong place, you need a way to let a clock divider know that, so I can just tap on that pause button until the shuffle is in the right place, and then right out of the box, I get a mult right here on the top of the full shuffle clock, and then I get quarter notes, and then I get bar lines, and then I get 4 bar lines. So using the outputs of that, I can get, you know, everything, the eloquencer when it's running, which is not running, but I can reset the eloquencer, the variegate, and the variatic sequent all to the same downbeat. And that wouldn't be possible, or it would be a lot more difficult without the Horologic Solum. So, going back to the Variatic Sequent, I've got a demo video about this. Now that I've got the reset working, I have the downbeat going to be a crash cymbal so that I can just switch that on and off when I want to crash. And then all of these sounds are coming out of a Bastel ABC mixer, which I have each side going to the A and the B input on the WMD performance mixer, so that if I want, I can just flick that up or down and then either get the left side or the right side. And in this case, the left side is the kick, snare, and hat, which are going into an Erica Synths VCF1 on the way. And then the right side is the second Pico drums, and the Basimilus Iteratus Alter is on this E channel. And then the F channel is those little vocal hits coming out of the Bastel Grandpa. So I'm going to turn it back on now, and you'll have a better idea of what exactly is doing what. And I'll turn some of this stuff, and you can watch. So that's how I have all of my percussion running. It should demystify it a little bit, and none of it would be possible without all of these noise engineering timing control modules. And I stumbled across the noise engineering website and saw these timing control modules and just started to drool, specifically the Integra Funkitus and the Confundo Funkitus. And it was like instantly I knew that I was going to put, you know, beats on one side and fills on the other. And then when I saw the variadic sequence, I emailed and asked, how does it do with accepting swing clock? And I think Chris replied with something pretty funny about being able to throw any kind of clock at it except a real one, and it would actually respond. Because I did have some trouble with other manufacturers responding to swing clock. It seems a lot of people don't use that, but with Noise Engineering's modules and the Varigate and also Erica Synths, I've had absolutely no trouble sending it shuffled gates and getting that funk. Because it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and much respect to the folks at Noise Engineering for building such awesome stuff, and I'll see you on the flip.